So this is another session on learning, on practicing my spoken English, and there are some ideas about improving my English that I have now. First one is this stuff, and I'm going to do this video blogs like every day if I have enough time. And I'm going to talk on some different topics that I talked somewhere in the past, and now I just try to remember from my head, from my memory, without any preparation, all what I know on this topic, what remained in my memory on this topic. And another way of doing this video blogs is reading something on some particular topic during the day, and then just trying to retell it with the vocabulary that I have. This the way I do it now, and this way I kind of get the additional help with the ideas that I can use to talk about. And of course, maybe I will kind of remember some keywords from the text I read, and I will use this word in my vlogs, and maybe using these words I add them to my vocabulary. So this is for the first way of improving my English. And the second way is to learn by heart some texts, and I did some of these texts, but now I'm going to find some small paragraphs, about 3 to 5 sentences, learn them during maybe 3 to 5 days, and just retell them from time to time. It's not about learning by heart big amounts of texts. It's about just, I don't know, practicing the learning by heart the text. No, it's not about even English, because when I try to retell the text from my memory, usually I switch into some mode in my mind when I try to recall all the words from this text. It's not like when I try to find the ideas and express them in English. Well, another way to do this is to kind of learn this texts by heart to some point, and then just retelling them using some particular expressions from these texts that I learned by heart. But the overall text will be whether original, if I am able to recall all the words, or it will be just my retelling of the ideas that I learned from this text using the words that I have in my active vocabulary. Anyway, this is the way to improve English, the second way, and I'm not going to just stop learning texts by heart, but I will switch this activity to small texts, not these huge texts that I need, that takes me about 20 minutes to recall all the text from the beginning to the end, when I'm in the best shape and when I can recall all the text without making huge stops from the beginning to the end. And the third way of improving my English, and I tried this way a couple of times, but I failed. And this way is the shadowing of some videos, and this is more advanced way, because when I listen to, let's say, animes, I get the idea of what they were talking. Usually I didn't create the words that represent the idea that I listened to in this anime, yeah, in some dialogues. I didn't represent it in words in my mind. I don't know, I just get the idea. But when I try to shadow each sentence, like using the keywords and then trying to pay attention to the words that represent the idea in the lines of certain characters, and not just to the idea itself. This is a new experience because sometimes I don't know all the words, and in my mind I just replace the word, the meaning of which I don't know, with the word which is kind of suitable for the situation and that I can use without losing the situation, the sense of situation, and this word fits perfectly, although it's not the same word as the character in anime uses. So, well, I tried this stuff, and my idea was to go from the beginning to the end of some particular episode of some movie or something. And now I decided to do this practice, but I'm going to start with small steps, like take some 5 minutes episode from anything, lecture or something, anime, movie, from some random point of the video, but with more talking than fighting, yeah. And then just go for 5 minutes with doing this shadow. And if I manage to do this process 5 minutes a day, let's say 2 or 3 weeks, I can then move to something more advanced, maybe about 10 minutes practice, but I will get to it only after this, let's say, 3 weeks continuous practice every day. It's like with this video, when I am at the process of writing everyday videos on English and talking without any preparations. It's like I'm almost at 4 weeks time period, and I think I feel myself quite easier than I felt myself with English when I started recording these videos 7 episodes ago. So this is my third way of improving language, English, and I'm going with it. And in a week or maybe in 2, I will be able to comment on this practice, and maybe I'll get something from it to improve my spoken practice. But today I decided to talk on the topic of science fiction, to recall from my memory some stories, the contents of some stories that I read. And we'll see what I can get from this. So, when I was in my 8th and 9th grades, I was introduced by my classmates to the science fiction field, and we all read some different books from the libraries, and and I learned some authors. First of all, I want to talk about the guys that I failed to go through, like Robert Zelazny with his Ember Chronicles and other stuff. I just couldn't start reading his stuff, so mm, this author is out of my field of knowing about his novels. And the other guy, Robert Heinlein. Heinlein. I never read any of his books, though they're quite well, because I read some of the reviews on these books and on the author itself. And Clifford Simak. I read a couple of his stories, or even a couple of his novels, but I really didn't like his style, so I didn't remember anything, I think, except for two works. The first one was about the money tree. Okay, when the guy walked somewhere in the street, and from the from the heaven, a banknote of maybe $100 came into his. It came on the road in front of him. He started to search for the source of this banknote, and he found that he was near the wall, and when he somehow climbed over the wall, he saw this what, money tree. Like there was a tree, and money were growing on this tree instead of leaves. Then this guy started to investigate this particular case, and he found out that there was an alien in the form of a dog, and this alien lived in the house that was surrounded by this tree. And the guy who kind of owned this dog, this alien, he made a contract with this alien, and he said that the alien could create these types of trees with the money, and this guy, he said, the owner of the dog, he told the dog that he would use the money to help people around the world, but in fact he just used the money to himself, like rich people did. And dog didn't know about it. And then this stranger who found the banknote, he told the dog, the alien, the truth. And in the end, this dog gathered other aliens in the form of dogs, and they created different dog aliens could grow different trees, like, I don't know, with maybe medicines on them or something like that. And one of the dog aliens created a tree which was a spaceship, and they all gathered together. This money dog alien successfully escaped from this rich bad guy, and they all gathered inside this tree spaceship, or this dog's aliens, and they went out to the universe, back to the planet. That's all. I don't like this story at all, but I read it some time ago, maybe 5 years ago, so I remember it quite alright, and I think it's one of the most famous stories by Simak. Another story or novel was about the robots, and one of the robots created something like, I don't know, what is it, like when the horse is used to pull not just the plow and not just the any weight, but this thing with wheels where people can sit inside this thin cart, maybe cart, and the horse pulls this cart with the people or with the weights in the cart. Anyway, this robot created a tiny cart and kind of set an ant within this cart, and ant started to pull this cart, and somehow after ants recognized the invention of a wheel in this cart, they started to build their own civilization, and lots of years after this, maybe 200 years after this moment, when all the people on Earth died and just robots stayed because they were robots, the ants lived with their civilization, and they used these inventions, and they created this big civilization around the world. And this is kind of strange story. I really didn't like it, and I really didn't understand what was the moral of the story, but I remembered it because it was so absurd, I think. Okay, I'm going to write down the word moral, and I'm going to check it later for the pronunciation, because I use this word in my second video, and I'm not sure that I use the correct pronunciation for it. Okay, these were the authors that I'm not familiar with, or I didn't like them, like Zelazny, Heinlein, and Simak. But there are some authors that I quite familiar with, or for whom I have found some interesting stories, and I read these particular stories several times. Not just the whole author, but just the stories, and I like them very much, and they became part of my, I don't know, imagination, no, my literature collection that was created from the books that I read. And of course, the first author that comes to mind is Isaac Asimov. And his great, his monumental work is Foundations, the trilogy of Foundations. Though he wrote later some prequels to this foundation, like, I don't know, maybe 3, maybe 4, and then some other authors created kind of fanfics about the continuation of the story after the end of the third foundation. But I like only these 3 first initial novels, and I return to them from time to time in my mind. I think about 5 years ago, I read the first foundation in English, reread. Well, I read the all 3 foundations 10 years ago. No, not 10. Yeah, more than 20 years ago in Russian. And 5 years ago, I reread the first foundation in English, and it was quite alright, but then I kind of stuck. I didn't want to continue the stuff, and I remember that I didn't like the whole story with the mule. which was, I think, at the end of the second book and the whole third book. But anyway, I remember the end very well. It made a great impression on me. So all this foundation stuff, which was set in the 20,000th year after the over the galactic empire or something like that, when people colonized lots of solar systems, lots of planets, and even galaxies, and when they created these hyper jumps from one star to another star, and the Trenta was the huge planet, the huge capital of all this empire, and thousands of the planets worked for the Trenta, because some of them created food, some of them created, I don't know, some technologies, and all this was put into Trenta every day with thousands of ships, and there lived billions of people on this Trenta and other stuff, and some young scientist came to Trenta from some small local star system where he lived all his life, and he was invited by some I can't recall the name of Seldon, I think. Okay, it was the name of some very famous scientist, and he predicted with his psychomathematics or something like that the whole galaxy empire will be destroyed in, I don't know, 50 years maybe, and then there will be dark ages for 5,000 years or so, and then every technology or cultural achievement that was created during these 20,000 years will be forgotten, and the humankind will start with the very beginning. And Seldon claimed that he can create some colony which will preserve the knowledge of this galactic empire, and with this knowledge he and his colony will shorten the period of dark ages from 5,000 years to just 500 years, and they will they will keep the technologies and the knowledge through this time, and then the next new empire will start in 500 years, and the emperor and all the I don't know, the aristocrats or those who are in the government, those people thought that Seldon wanted to destroy the empire, but he explained his psychomathematics or something, and only a bunch of people in the whole empire could understand what he was talking about with his technology, with his knowledge and mathematics. So he gathered about, I think, 100 of men and women, or maybe more, and they were put on some distant planet somewhere on the periphery of the galaxy, and there they preserved the knowledge by creating the largest galaxy encyclopedia in history, and they were encyclopedists, and their purpose of life was creating the next volumes of this encyclopedia. And after this, Asimov showed the periods in history of this whole empire in 50 years, something like this, with these huge jumps. And then he showed like the people on this I don't remember the name of this small planet, maybe Foundation. Okay, when people lived in this Foundation, and it was the period that could be compared to the Middle Ages, when the huge Roman Empire was ruined, and it was divided into small countries, and each small country had its own king and had its own government and military forces, and they fought against each other, and they lost the culture, they lost the technology. So the Foundation preserved the technology and they preserved the culture, but they were surrounded by this barbarian states, countries, planets, and these barbarian planets wanted to get all this technology on the Foundation into their use, and the people on the Foundation, some clever people, realized this, and they had to have some way to balance between all these different small states, to be neutral against them, so that none of them, of the states, tried to conquer the Foundation with its knowledge and its technologies. And the Foundation didn't have any military technology because seldom did this, and it was his great plan, and no one knew why he made the Foundation on this planet without any resources, without military power, only with the power of their brain and their knowledge, and small technologies, of course. And Sheldon predicted some crises when the Foundation would meet some outside danger, and the people of the Foundation would have to change the politics and to solve this crisis. And the first crisis was 50 years after the Foundation was created, and it was a huge hologram, a huge cube in which the hologram was created, and in this hologram there was Sheldon who sat on there was the hologram of this Sheldon who sat on his wheelchair, and he recorded himself. He talked he told that maybe there was no one around him because people of the foundation failed to go through this crisis, or maybe they succeeded and they were listening to him. Anyway, he told them about the crisis that they successfully walked through. And the first crisis was about creating the type of religious rule by this particular foundation people over the other planets. The way the Pope in Rome ruled over the Europe by the power of God, of faith, of religion. But this time, the people of foundation used the advanced technologies like levitation or other stuff that was kind of magic for the barbarian people, and they used these technologies to proclaim themselves kind of the, I don't remember the word for this particular profession, when there were people like priests, but in more old days fashion, people who, okay, like in Egypt there were pharaohs who were the rulers on earth set by gods, or maybe they were the gods, and there were these priests. It was there is the correct word for this profession, who talked to the gods, and who then said the people of Egypt the will of the gods. They were not shamans because they had more cultural organization, but they were not priests. And I will check this word later, I think. Anyway, after the foundation successfully came through the first crisis in the history, 50 years after the foundation was founded, and this Sheldon, who died many years ago, came to them in this hologram image, and he congratulated them on the going through the crisis successfully. And then he said that there will be lots of other crises, and they had to change their politics accordingly. And he noted that they should remember that there is the other foundation on the other end of galaxy that will always, he noted that there was the other foundation on the other end of the galaxy that would always help them in the case they needed, in the case they would need this help. And so it was the mystery that was set in the beginning, almost in the beginning of this book, and then the foundation just developed more and more. From the priests and religion, they moved to the trading empire. They sold small things, appliances that were used by the wives at home of the huge states, that surrounded them once more, because the foundation always situated on one planet, and they needed to control all the other planets in their sector by some knowledge, by some tricks. And the next trick was to produce small technological things that only they could do. And when the huge aliens of different planets around them wanted to conquer them, they stopped producing this type of things, and all the civilian women kind of rebelled against all the technologies, washing machines, electrical knives, and other stuff. Stop working in 3 years because the Foundation stopped producing all the stuff after being conquered. And when the people of these huge aliens wanted back all these technologies, these aliens just make a peace agreement with the Foundation, and again the Foundation was the winner, and again came Seldom in his transparent cube, and and he congratulated them, and then he told them about the second Foundation and the next crisis, something like that. And then in the second and in the third book, the Foundation will meet different crises, and the mule will be the some kind of mutant, the guy who had some psychic powers, and he was able to unite the old empire, something like that. I don't remember. And Seldon's mathematics or something couldn't predict this factor, the existence of these psycho powers, and he kind of started to change the course of history. So I don't know, maybe in the third book the guys from the second Foundation were introduced, and the first Foundation always tried, when the first Foundation became very, very strong with its powers, when it became kind of the head of its region, they tried to find the second Foundation and kind of destroy it, arrest the people of the second Foundation to prevent them interfering into the business, because Seldon always said that the second Foundation kind of made the course for the development of the first Foundation. And at some point they searched for the second Foundation on the other end of the galaxy, and they discovered it, the planet with 100 of men and women, and they were all arrested, and I think all the works were destroyed. So this way the first Foundation guaranteed the independent development without any guidance from some shadow side. And in this third book we learn that the second Foundation still existed somewhere, and all the guys on this second Foundation were familiar with this psychomathematics by Sheldon, and there was this equation created by Sheldon that explained the course of history for the next 500 years, but because of many factors that appeared during this time, this equation was not correct anymore, and all these mathematicians in the second Foundation worked on improving this equation, and they added some additional factors to this foundation, each of them, and it was an anonymous work. It was like just improving the Seldom's equation without any hints to the new authors who did this, and this way they tried to predict the future using his psychomathematics and to guide the remains of the empire and the foundation itself to this bright future after the Dark Ages in 500 years. And the great mystery of these three foundations books was the location of this second foundation, because it wasn't at the other end of the galaxy where this first foundation searched and where they found this planet, because the second foundation sacrificed. Okay, the second foundation sacrificed 100 of their members to create this fake, the second foundation colony on the other end of the galaxy, so that the first foundation thought that they kind of destroyed the threat from this second foundation. But after that, the second foundation continued to correct the course of history, to limit this period of Dark Ages to 500 years. And in the third book, it was this girl of 10 years, and she wanted to become a writer, and there was her father, and the girl was from the first foundation. But okay, and then they met some guy on Trenta, which was the center of the galactical empire many few hundred years ago, and there were still people on Trenta, and this father and his daughter, they made some investigation on something, I don't know, about this mule, I think, who was this mutant, and about this second foundation, and somehow with the help of this old man from Trento, they located the mule, and they neutralized him. I don't know how, but after maybe arresting him, they returned the history to the course, and this man with his daughter, he was afraid that the second foundation may still exist, and they could kind of use psychic power to change, not psychic power, but something, that changes the ways the brain works, and he something like he analyzed the brain of his daughter, and he found that no one changed something in her brains, and later, maybe as a private talk to himself, the old man from Toronto said that this father couldn't find any changes made to the brain of his daughter by the technologies on the second foundation, because the changes were made to her when she was born. This way, she is already changed, and comparing to she was already changed, and comparing to the compared to the state she was born, she remained the same, and everything was quite all right with this something, the adventure or mission the father and his daughter were in. And I like the ending scene of this, maybe the last page of this. Oh, okay, I remembered just now that these 3 books were named like the Foundation, because it was about the Foundation fighting against the local planets, states that surrounded it, and they fought in the way of making the religious rule over these planets, and then the trade rule over the planets. The second book was named The Foundation and Empire, and the Empire, because the remains of the old empire were still strong near the center of empire around the Trenta. They didn't possess small technologies like the Foundation used, with this personal personal invisible force shields that could protect a single person against laser pistols, laser guns, and other stuff. But the old Foundation, old Empire still used the huge technologies, the huge spaceships, the huge plans that still worked and that could produce some huge something outcome. So they didn't have small personal force shields, but they had a huge a huge shields that could protect the whole spaceship, and they had more firepower than the first Foundation had. So in the second book, the Foundation learned about the remains of the old empire, and the old empire learned about the Foundation, and they tried to fight against each other, and somehow the Foundation, the first Foundation, succeeded in this kind of battle of wits in technology against the old empire. And the third book was called The Second Foundation. It was, I think, it was where the first Foundation became so powerful that they could search the whole galaxy for the second Foundation, and they found this fake Foundation, but they didn't know that it was fake. And sometime later, this man and his daughter investigated something, and with this mule. Anyway, in the end of the third book, this old man from Trenta, he stood on Trenta and looked into the night sky above, into the thousands of millions of stars that were visible from the center of the galaxy, and that created this Milky Way galaxy. And he was the main, I think, priest of the high priest of the second Foundation. Though it was his secret identity, the man and his daughter, they didn't know about it, and he was the high priest, and he was the one of the guys who created additional factors for this Sheldon equation to to predict the history and to move the development of the galaxy to the end of the Dark Ages as soon as possible. And standing on the Trenta, in the center of the galaxy, he looked at the night skies, and he talked to himself about this mystery, where the second foundation was hidden, but by Sheldon in the first place, because Sheldon said that he hid the second foundation on the other end of the galaxy from the first foundation, and because the first foundation was on the periphery, and the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, has the form of kind of a disk. The people from the first foundation thought that the second foundation must be on the other periphery, through the radius, like through the diameter opposite the first foundation. But because the galaxy consists of two arms that have the spiral form, and two arms originates in the center of the galaxy where the Trenta was, and then they kind of go forward, and then they create this perimeter, and the first foundation was situated on the end of one of this arm. So the other end of this arm was in the center of the galaxy, on Trenta, in the old capital of this empire, and where Sheldon worked his research. And yeah, it was like the most obvious place, and no one ever looked at the most obvious place. So the second foundation was hid on the other end of the galaxy arm, in the center of the galaxy. And during the whole trilogy, Asimov kind of used the quotes, the texts from this galaxy encyclopedia that was created by the encyclopedists on the first foundation. The encyclopedia that had the aim to gather all the knowledge and to keep this knowledge through the Dark Ages. And in the beginning of each period that was corresponding, that was related to the events in some particular story through this trilogy, Asimov wrote some quotations from this encyclopedia. Like in the beginning, he told something like, Trenta is the capital of the galaxy empire, and it has the population of, let's say, 20 billions, and all the planets, and it has no resources, but all the resources, all the food is brought from the surrounding planets, and so on. And for each period of time, he used these quotes, these facts from this encyclopedia. And after this last page of the third book, when this old man revealed to the readers that he was the high priest and the second foundation was hid on Trenta, Asimov used the facts from this galaxy encyclopedia, and these facts said that this war, something against the Mule and some enemy forces, this war was the last war in the history of um, uh, these dark ages, and for the last couple of hundreds of years there were no wars, and the foundation just continued to develop in technology and to become kind of the power and the center of the new empire. And this way Asimov showed that he didn't want to to write any more continuation for this story for the next 200 years, because he showed the great mystery of the second foundation, and he just stopped this whole story at this cool point. And it's really cool if you read from the beginning to the end, and if you try to search for the second foundation together with these guys from the first foundation. And it's a real mystery, Agatha Christie style in science fiction. So this is the greatest, I think, work of Isaac Asimov. And though he created later some prequels to this story, I tried to read them. I read something. I didn't like them because it wasn't about this mystery anymore. It wasn't about this. It wasn't about this whole story that was presented by him during this trilogy. So this is really great work, and it's one of the fundamental works in science fiction. And if you want to read something in science fiction, you need to read this, and it's really worth of your time. And this great story will remain with you let's say forever. So that's all what I wanted to say in today's vlog.